Former senior Obama advisor David Axelrod suggesting what he is most proud of when considering the 6 years of the Obama administration to date. Listen.
Has it been light years different than it was before? Absolutely. And I'm proud of the fact that basically you've had an administration that's been in place for 6 years in which there hasn't been a major scandal. And I think that says a lot about the ethical strictures, of this administration.
Liz Cheney, former Deputy Secretary of State and a Fox News contributor. And how are you, Liz? Good morning from Washington, D.C. What do you think about that comment? Not a serious scandal.
Well, look, I mean, if the question is what's he most proud of, obviously there's not a lot to choose from in this administration. But, for goodness sakes, to sit there and say there have been no scandals. And I was watching your last segment with Secretary Rumsfeld talking about the fact that they're in denial on the national security front. I mean, this is the see no evil administration, hear about no scandal. They really have this attitude that if they pretend it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. We won't see it. And at some level, though, it's not scandal in terms of just sort of bad press. This is a very serious violation of a sacred trust with the American people across the board, whether it's Benghazi, whether it's using the IRS to target political enemies. And I think that's clearly how history is going to judge this president.
Republicans would tick those off, and they probably mention a few more on screen, the Obamacare rollouts.
Yeah.
You like your doctor, keep your doctor. Like your plan, keep your plan.
Right.
IRS targeting, Benghazi, Fast and Furious, the VA backlog, which was a horrendous experience for our veterans, and for some it still continues. Axelrod said, though, our record may not be pristine, but it's light years ahead of previous administrations. What about that?
I'm not sure which administrations he's talking about, but I really do think, if you look at how this administration's operated, the level of mistruth to the American people, I would say, is unparalleled, at least in recent memory, in recent history. They haven't been called to account by large sections of the media. They know they can get away with it. But as you mentioned, something like the VA scandal, something like Benghazi, there's a common thread, though, that runs through the national security issues and the domestic scandals, and that is they say what's necessary to protect Barack Obama. And they, put our national security at risk. For example, something like Benghazi, not admitting, even, to this day on the part of some of them, that this was a terrorist attack. It was a terrorist attack by Islamic terrorists on our embassy and on our facilities, and instead claiming for many, many weeks and months afterwards that it was caused by a video. That somehow he was saying the tide of war was receding, and if he admitted that actually we'd been attacked by terrorists, that put the lie to that notion, and it was the middle of a presidential campaign. Yeah. So I would say,
explain this if you could. The Gallup numbers, I believe, in the past week hit 50% approval. Now, I know you believe everything you just said, but on the screen is now 48-48 approval to disapproval. So, I mean, that's... all things considered, I think you'd kind of be happy with a number like that if you're the commander-in-chief. But the question then goes to why is it there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, frankly, he'd like to see those numbers higher, but I think it does go back to a real sort of, absence of responsibility on the part of much of the media. And, the free press plays an incredibly crucial role in our society, and this president, is not covered and is not held to the same standards that his predecessors have been. And they know that, and they get away with things. And, when you have a situation where the commander-in-chief is putting our national security at risk because he's unwilling to say we are at war with Islamic terrorists, and then we have an embassy that's attacked, an ambassador killed, and they still continue the lies. That's what the history books will say. They will talk about a violation of sacred trust. I think they'll talk about a dereliction of duty. And, they can pretend as much as they want, but I don't know that we've seen, certainly that I can recall, an administration so divorced from reality as this current one is.
The pristine nature continues. Not precisely pristine, but light years
not
ahead.
Exactly, Bill. Right,
All right. Liz, thank you. It's good to have you back on. Out of Washington, Liz Cheney there. 20 minutes now.